Driveway is a very important asset of your house because it's very expensive to replace and to install. So with the proper maintenance schedule, every 2 to 3 years, seal coat the driveway. What that will do is extend the life of your driveway by at least 20 years.
How can a homeowner know if they're getting the job done right?
For paving?
Paving, yeah.
So a big thing is ask a lot of questions. Google is your friend. You know, look at all the reviews. See how long somebody has been in business. Look at what are the reviews that people are writing about the company. You know, just ask questions, do your research. That's the biggest thing. Started with the line striping, and then from there, started with residentials. You know, we did a lot of residential seal coating, and then now we're working towards commercials. So it's been a nice ride, you know. And one of the things I love about seal coating is just meeting a lot of different clients.
Welcome everybody, I'm Kamil Sarji, host of Just 2 Minutes, and today I have Gian here.
Yep.
Gian, want to tell us about yourself?
Yes, hi, my name's Gian Paris. I'm owner of Blacked Out Seal Coating. We're based out of Coventry, Rhode Island. So I've been seal coating, been in business for a couple of years now, and we really love our job and what we do. So,
awesome. Yeah.
Yep.
So you're here today to answer the Just 2 Minutes questions, but then, you know, I want to talk about the business, what we as realtors need to know or should know about driveways, seal coating, all that stuff.
Yep.
You're ready for this?
Yeah, let's do it.
This craziness? All right.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, and go. Okay, if you were to replace your feet with something else, what would you replace them with?
Tires.
Tires?
I would replace them with tires so I can go faster
Okay.
and get to places faster.
I agree. That's awesome.
And especially seal coating, you know, finish jobs a lot quicker.
If aliens abducted you and they only wanted to learn what snacks humans love, how would you introduce that to them?
Oh, snacks. Well, a lot of humans like to eat some junk food. So, of course, we would definitely have to give them some junk food, you know, maybe some candy bars, some Skittles, and then give them some healthy snacks as well.
Okay, so Skittles is the one you'd introduce
Yes,
them
give them some Skittles, yep.
Okay. So if you were president and you can make up a ridiculous rule that people have to do.
A ridiculous rule. Shake everybody's hand.
Okay, wake up and shake everybody's hand.
Yep.
If you could switch lives with one cartoon character,
yep.
who would it be?
If I could, I would love to be
The Beetle?
Bumblebee.
Bumblebee. Okay.
Yep, that would be the character that would be. Would be Bumblebee. Yep.
He seems like he has the coolest life.
Definitely. You know, it's a nice Camaro and everything, so you can't beat that.
And he has gentle tires where he doesn't mess up the driveway.
Exactly. Yep. And if he wants,
back to that.
yep. And if he wants to, he can rip them apart. You know, the asphalt.
That's right. Tell me more about your business. How you got started in the business.
Okay, so I got started and basically just kind of a little bit of background information. You know, I'm a school teacher and I've been teaching for about 25 years. You know, I wanted to get into something else on the side. I do have summers off. And one of the things, you know, I was looking at different options of what we could do. And seal coating, it caught my eye a few years ago. And I just love the aesthetics of things. And I like seeing something that needs a little bit of work that can be brought back to beauty. And I think driveways you can do that with. So I ended up doing a bunch of research, got in contact with Asphalt Kingdom. They're a great company to work with, contacted some people there, and they put me in contact with the guy down in Long Island, Don Manzo. And he was happening to work on some Amazon lots, and they were doing number stalls. And he was in Taunton, and he said, hey, you want to come and jump on a ride-along and get to work? And I said, absolutely. And I worked with him for a day, and I was hooked. And from there, we started doing some line striping, number stalling for Amazon, which basically is their parking lots would be numbered, and then each parking spot had different numbers for them. So started spray painting them with the machines, and from there got into seal coating. And from seal coating, everything really took off. So it went very, very quickly.
So you had a ton of experience doing huge lots.
So we were started with the line striping, and then from there started with residentials. You know, we did a lot of residential seal coating, and then now we're working towards commercials. So it's been a nice ride, you know. And one of the things I love about seal coating is just meeting a lot of different clients. Like I've met a lot of great people. You know, I met you doing your lot, you know, and you know, I still keep in contact with clients, and I really love what I do. I really, really do. So awesome. It's been a great journey so far.
I know when I look at a house, or I'm showing someone a house, and the driveway is just a mess. It's like all ripped up, cracks. I know that a nice fresh seal coat or fresh, you know, asphalt would make that look more like, you know, amazing, but the cost is like up there.
Yes, in order to you know, to redo a driveway is very expensive. You know, you need 3 to 5 man crew. You need the equipment, the material. So the best bet is to maintain the driveway that you have. And you know, when you do pull up to a driveway and you see it freshly sealed, all the cracks are filled in, there's no vegetation, it makes the house pop, as well as the landscape. So when you have, you know, the black driveway, you know, flowers along the walkway, everything just kind of pops.
Yeah, it does make it look really, really nice. Now, you're seal coating the driveway, right?
Yep.
It's made out of asphalt.
So there are 2 types. There's coal tar and asphalt emulsion that we use. So we use coal tar. What it is coal tar.
Coal.
Yep, C-O-A-L.
Okay.
Yep. And that's what we use just because the product lasts a little bit longer than the asphalt emulsion. It ends up being better for if you have oil spills, gasoline spills, as well as a freeze-thaw cycle. So using the coal tar, it lasts a bit longer than the asphalt emulsion.
So when you're looking at a driveway, you kind of, all right, there's some oil stains from the car. This is probably the best application.
So yeah, so whenever we see oil stains, we automatically, what we do is we end up cleaning them prior to seal coating, because the sealer can sometimes have difficulty bonding to asphalt when there are all oil stains on the ground. So usually what we do is we end up using, I have a nice 8-inch wire wheel brush. We kind of, you know, clean at the oil stains, clean the area up, then we put some material called prep seal. And what the prep seal does, it allows the sealer to adhere to the asphalt. So if you don't do that process, over time, that sealer will wear off where those oil spots are.
Okay. So you only put that there in bad spots?
Yes, correct. Yep.
Okay. Interesting. What about cement driveways?
So we just deal with asphalt driveways. If there are any cement issues, cracking, you know, we usually have a cement contractor will come in and take care of those driveways. So we just strictly deal with asphalt.
Okay. Yeah, it's rare that I see that, but sometimes I do see. Do you partner up with companies like paving company?
Yep. So what we do is we'll do small pothole repair. If a customer calls us and says, "Can you come take a look at our driveway? You know, I have all these cracks." If it's really bad, we're going to let the client know that it's not worth repairing the driveway and spending the money on seal coating it, crack filling it, as well as the pothole repair. Sometimes driveways are too far gone, already beyond the point of repair, unfortunately. So
how does it get that way?
Well, that's the biggest thing, is the maintenance part. You need to maintain a driveway. A driveway is a very important asset of your house, because it's very expensive to replace and to install. So with the proper maintenance schedule, every 2 to 3 years, seal coat the driveway. What that will do is extend the life of your driveway by at least 20 years by maintaining it. Especially being here in the Northeast, you know, we get the freeze-thaw cycle. So if you have minimal cracks, water gets in them, they freeze, they'll expand, creating larger cracks, which will just destroy the driveway. So that's why you really need to keep on top of it. And when you do see those cracks forming, you need to have somebody come in, clean the cracks out, apply hot rubber into the cracks, let in and seal it. That's the best thing to do. And you can just have a company come in and just crack seal your driveway and just fill in cracks.
I want to talk about cracks in a second, but I want to talk about the paving. Have you seen like bad paving jobs?
Yeah, I definitely have seen bad paving jobs. A big thing with paving is you really need to have a strong base. You know, you really have to have a strong base, and you need to have 3 to 4 inches of material when you pave a driveway a lot, because nowadays you have Amazon trucks coming into your lot back and forth. You know, especially, if you have somebody who likes to order a lot of Amazon packages, we all do.
I know that person.
Yeah, I do too. Yep, exactly. The Amazon drivers coming into our driveway a lot, or even UPS. When those trucks are very heavy, and what they'll do is the weight of those trucks will eventually begin to depress on the asphalt if you don't have a strong base. So sometimes it's worth spending a little bit more money doing it properly than spending less money than doing it, not so right. And I know things do get very expensive at times, but even if you have to wait an extra year, sometimes it might be worth waiting a little bit longer to do things properly. And then it will also last a little bit longer when you have to crack seal and do all the maintenance aspects of a driveway.
How can a homeowner know if they're getting the job done right?
For a paving?
Paving, yeah.
So a big thing is ask a lot of questions. Google is your friend. Look at all the reviews. See how long somebody has been in business. Look at what are the reviews that people are writing about the company. Just ask questions. Do your research. That's the biggest thing that I can say is do your research. Take a little bit of time and find out the right questions to ask.
Okay. And then they get this pavement done, brand new. When do you come in to protect that?
So I come in about a year after. So what you want to do is you want to have some of the oils be released from the asphalt. Because we're in the Northeast, we have the cold. We don't have the sun drying the pavement up. We would come in about a year later, 9 months to a year later is the best time to seal the driveway.
Okay.
Yep.
Obviously, it can't be in the winter.
No, it cannot be in the winter. It cannot be in the winter.
Because you want it to dry more.
Seal coat products that we use, usually we're looking at when we seal a driveway, we look at, we don't want temperatures to get below 50 degrees at night. And then if it's very, very hot, you're really working with the sealer, because the sealer is literally drying as you are applying it, and you have to work the sealer around. It depends on the method that you apply the sealer with.
And that's why you started this business, because the summer is where most of your business is.
Exactly. Summer, spring, and fall. And we're working on the weekends in the spring, after school, I'll start a project. If it's a larger driveway, what I'll do is I'll do all the prep work. There's a lot of prep work to sealing a driveway. You really need to clean it thoroughly. If you don't clean it thoroughly, that sealer will not adhere to the asphalt.
Especially oil stains.
Especially the oil stains. We have moss. That's one thing that we do get a lot. And there are some driveways where, I spend a whole day cleaning the driveway with my wire wheel machine just to clean all the moss off. Or what we can do is power wash the driveway down, because what the moss will do is it will not allow the sealer to adhere to the asphalt. So it's very important. You want to clean the edges of the driveway as well, because the sides of the driveway, you're looking at, 3 to 4 inches of asphalt on the side. That needs to be sealed as well, not just the top. You want to get the entire asphalt surface.
Okay. And then the cracks around the perimeter of the asphalt, what do you do with that?
So the cracks, when it's
good cracks. The cracks that are set up around where it's supposed to be, where it meets the stairs.
The stairs, so that is fine. What we'll do is we make sure we seal up until where the stairs and the asphalt meets. And but we also recommend doing at the end of the driveway where the driveway meets the road, there's always that little gap. And what happens is water infiltrates that gap. And if you notice, a lot of driveways, where do they have cracking? At the end of the driveway, because the town doesn't come in and seal the gap between the road and the driveway. And water, especially being in the winter, will get in there, snow, ice, expand, and then a little over time, what you have is you begin to have these cracks, because the base can get ruined from the water as it infiltrates and seeps through the asphalt, and that's where you begin to have the cracks. So it's always good to have the end of the driveway crack sealed where the road meets. So you just have no access of water, because water is your enemy.
So you're carefully making sure you're taking care of this driveway so that doesn't cause any problems in the future. Do you think everybody does what you do?
Yes, companies will look for that, but I think what you need to do, if you're looking for a company, you need to ask them the questions. What about where the road, where the street meets where the street meets the driveway? What can we do? That's something that we do. You know, we take pride in other people's property. I go to somebody's property and I treat it as my own property with the care that we take.
Yeah. I remember I talked to 3 companies, and I liked yours because you take time to actually. You pointed out a lot of things that I didn't even know about, and you educated me on the whole process.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's what I like to do, and I like to try to educate people on what to look for, how to prolong the life of your asphalt. Because again, if you have to replace a driveway, it's going to be very expensive.
Definitely.
You know? So it's very important to keep up with the maintenance. It's like changing the oil in a car. You have to change it every, so many thousand miles, and depending on the vehicle. So you really need to take care of your driveway as well.
Yeah, I had no idea. And I just recently, I just did the driveway.
Yes. Yep.
And it looks awesome.
Yep.
And I'm like,
beautiful.
It doesn't need anything. But actually, if I want to preserve this and keep this for 20 years.
And the best thing for you to do is what we do is we get onto a maintenance program. So, every couple of years we assess the driveway, see if it needs to be seal coated. If it doesn't, then we wait another year and then we revisit it. Since your business, you have a lot of traffic with cars in and out, you're going to have more wear and tear on that seal coat. So you might need to do a little bit sooner than somebody who has, a regular driveway. As many people coming in and out, unless you have a lot of Amazon packages coming to your house.
So potholes.
Yes, potholes.
So annoying.
Absolutely.
So fixing that, do you fix it, or you bring in another paving?
So what I'll do is, depending on the size of the pothole, we do pothole repair. We also do, if some cracks are too large, what we'll do is we'll end up cutting them out with the demo saw, compacting the area, filling it with the appropriate appropriate gravel, and then we will fill it in with a product that we use. It's called Aquafalt. And what it is it's a cold patch. It's the best stuff on the market right now. And that's what we do. Prevents water from coming in. Yep.
Because the water comes in, freeze,
thaw, and then next thing you know, you have those cracks opening up again. So usually what we'll do is we'll get it as tight as we can so there are no cracks. So, but.
All right. So, and it's filled with what again?
So what we do is we'll fill it. We compact the potholes. We make sure, the potholes, what we'll do is we'll cut out the pothole, cut it out so it's, perfectly square, rectangular, or whatever. We want to make it look aesthetically pleasing. And then what we'll do is we'll compact the material that's there. We'll add any other material that needs to be added to it.
So you saw the area.
Yep,
you take what was there, crunch it up.
We'll remove the old asphalt, take it out, compact the area, add any gravel that we need to add, and then what we'll do is we'll add the cold patch, and we use a plate compactor to go over it so it's nice and flat.
Okay. So the product you're putting on top of that it's going to look like asphalt.
It will look like asphalt. It will look a little different, but unfortunately when you do have patches, it's never going to be perfect. But what you can do is seal coat over it, and then that will make it look more uniformed.
Yeah.
That's the best thing to do.
Okay. And then cracks. They're so annoying. It goes from one side to the other.
Yes. Yep.
How do you fix that? Because I've seen horrible jobs where the tire just drags it out. Pulls it right out.
Pulls it right out, yep. And again, being some of the weather that we get here, it can get very hot. And that hot rubber, what happens is it will get soft. And then just the tire marks and just the weight of the vehicle will rip it right out. So the process is this, is what you want to do is you have the cracks. If there's any vegetation in those cracks, it has to be removed. You have to get that vegetation out. What you want to do is you want to clean that crack thoroughly, okay? You don't want to have it wet. It needs to be nice and dry. And then what we come in is we use hot rubber. We have a machine where it melts these 30-pound blocks. It's basically recycled rubber and heats it up to about 350, 375. And then what we do is when we inject the cracks, we go right over it with the machine. And then what we do is we end up adding...
How do you inject it?
Basically, it's just gravity fed. Just
Okay.
gravity fed, and it just goes slow. It just pushes it in. Sometimes what we might have to do is we might have to do 2 passes depending on how the crack is. If the cracks are really large, then we might fill it in with the material just so the crack sealer will just be nice and uniform, and it will go right over and just form a nice layer. And then what we will do is we'll add something called ProGrit. ProGrit it's this black material, tiny, tiny, tiny little pieces of material that we place on top of the hot rubber. And what that does, that avoids the tacking of the hot rubber when it gets hot. So it's called ProGrit. It's other names. It's called Black Beauty is another name that they'll use for it. And that really helps with the tacking and the pulling of the hot rubber in the summer months. So all my driveways that I do, we always use the ProGrit, always, because you don't want to have to come back and fix it, you know. Fortunately, sometimes that does happen, but we make sure we put enough product, enough of that ProGrit on there so that there are no issues.
Yeah. What if it's really bad? Do you saw the whole thing out and like or is that too much of a...
Again, every job is different, you know. I mean, if we're looking at some huge cracks, again, we've had some larger cracks that we've dealt with where we've whole sawed it out, and we would just end up putting, you know, the aquafalt material, which is just a cold patch, compact it, and it lasts for a bit. So it's a great alternative. And then if there are huge patches or whatever, then, you know, we'll make some calls and just have somebody else come in and take care of the larger areas, because sometimes the jobs are might be a little bit too big, and we'll just have somebody else come in and do it. Because again, you need some larger vehicles, you need the dump trucks or whatnot for the asphalt going to the plant. So some of the stuff can be in depth. So we do what we can, and stuff that we know that we can't do, we'll outsource it.
So before we go into seal coating, once a new pavement's installed, rain, is that bad if it rains right after they do that, or?
No, not necessarily. No, not if it rains. It will only affect seal coat. Yeah.
Okay, so seal coat, you have to make sure there's no rain
in 24 hours of the application. So let's say I'm supposed to seal coat your driveway on a Tuesday, but we're looking at a bunch of rain on Wednesday. We will not do it, because I want to make sure that the material cures appropriately for you. So what we will do is we will push jobs back. Unfortunately, there have been times where we might have it's Rhode Island, you know, New England, and we get weather systems that come when they're unexpected. You know, I have like 3 or 4 weather apps on my phone, and it's the most nerve-wracking thing, you know, because when you do a job, you want it done right for the client, and you want it to last.
Yeah.
So
that must be tough, like, you know, because you have to work with the weather.
Yes.
Cancel appointments, move things along, and then there's other appointments, and like, oh man.
So it's constant juggling, but you know, there's not one homeowner that I've met that has gotten angry about changing the time.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they want it right.
They want it done right, because they're paying for a product, and you know, my company, you know, Blacked Out Seal Coating, we stand by everything that we do. I want things done the right way, and they'll be done the right way. So
that's for rain. What about driving on it?
Driving on it, wait 48 hours. I would wait 48 hours.
Okay.
I mean, you can do 24, but I highly recommend 48 hours. Yeah. Just because when seal coat is freshly, you know, placed on the driveway on the asphalt, you know, cars come in, you have the turning of the wheel with the power steering, and it will rip that sealer right out. Technically, really, after 48 hours, you're really good to go. You're good to go. I mean, you will see some tracking of tire marks all it is some excess material, excess sand in the sealer. We do add sand to the sealer just so it doesn't slip. It gets into the nooks and crannies of the asphalt. So that's one thing you will see. You will see some tire marks for, you know, 2 to 3 weeks after the job is done. After a nice rain, it kind of washes off, and then you won't see those marks anymore. You know, I have come back for clients because, you know, they might have turned the wheel or whatever, and I'll come back and do a little touch up. You know, I don't mind doing that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think for mine we did it on a Friday.
Yep.
I just closed up everything until Monday.
Monday, exactly.
Because I wanted it to be right, and I wanted to last for a long time.
And that was the way to do it. But unfortunately, some businesses don't have that luxury. So what we will do is we will add a product to the sealer, which is called like a fast dry. And what that does is that helps the sealer dry quicker. It dries from the bottom up as well as top to bottom, from the sun and then from the bottom. So it makes it a lot quicker. So that's something that we use when it's not those 80, 90 degrees days, when we get more towards fall, is we always put in, come about September 1st, we're adding the fast dry. Or if a client needs their driveway done right away, we'll add the fast dry to the mix.
Any cons of using a fast dry?
No. If anything, it's more of a pro, because what it does is it's a fortifier. It adds a little bit more hardness, plus it dries quicker for you. So
everybody should be adding that to their...
to it. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yep. It's just something that you can add if you wanted to, but it's something that needs to be done at the beginning of the season and the end of the season. So that's what I do. A little extra assurance that I know it's curing correctly.
Yeah. So when I got mine done, it's freshly black driveway.
Yep.
Now the next part, which is important for a business, commercial,
yes,
is to have lines.
Absolutely.
And that's called striping.
Striping, yep, line striping.
Not stripping.
Yeah.
Someone drove by, they were like, oh, because they had their advertisement.
Yes.
They're like, oh, stripping, what do you do? And I'm like, no, read it. It's
stripe. Yes, correct. Yep. That's the big thing.
You don't want to strip a driveway.
No, you don't.
Mess it up.
Exactly. And it's very, very important, especially being a property owner. If you own commercial properties, you need to have lines visible for your customers coming in. Because if not, you can have lawsuits. Everything needs to be done ADA compliant. So you need to have so many handicap spots for the amount of spots that you have. So there's a lot that goes to it. So it's very, very important, because the owner is responsible for what happens to that lot. So even potholes. That's why potholes need to be addressed. If you have a pothole on your lot, somebody comes driving with, and hits them. And a lot of these cars have the low profile tires, and I mean, I've busted a few and bent a few rims in my time, and that's on the owner. That's your job to maintain the lot. Yeah. And then also too, if somebody slips and falls, let's say, you have a property and you have cracks everywhere, and somebody slips and trips over a crack, you're responsible. They can sue you for that. So it's very important to keep up with the maintenance of a commercial lot. Very, very important.
Yeah, because you want people to know. Also, I mean, parking, kind of helps people guide them to the right.
Correct.
spots.
Yeah.
What else besides driveways can you seal?
So right now, we just strictly stick with asphalt driveways. I would love to expand my business into possibly getting into some epoxy flooring and then garage design. Epoxy flooring is great. There's so much that you can do it with the color palettes that are available, as well as really making a garage be functional and look aesthetically beautiful. So I think down the road, that's something I would like to get into, because basically you can have all in one. You go from the asphalt driveway into your garage. Yeah. So I think that's how I want to expand. But I also want to obviously grow the business as well, get into a lot more commercial stuff and kind of expand clientele.
Starting the business, what things did you not expect as a business owner of a seal coating company?
One of the things as a business owner, you don't realize how expensive things are for commercial insurance, liability insurance. Insurances are very expensive, but you need them. Yeah. You look at commercial vehicles, you have to insure them as a commercial vehicle. because it's a business. So that can be expensive. Your general liability can be expensive. You have all these other expenses that you have to take on when you own a business because you want the business to be done right. It's very important to run a business properly. You can't cut corners in business. You really can't, especially with a business that, we're in seal coating, because things can happen. Pipes can burst, our hoses can blow, and next thing you know, you get sealer everywhere. And that can be a huge problem.
So how do you work? As a realtor and realtors that are watching this, we need to be able to recommend you to our clients.
Yes.
Especially if we're trying to sell the house and
Absolutely.
want it to look nice. Is it expensive to seal coat, or?
When you have initial driveway, the first time sealing it, that's when you incur more of a cost just due to it not being sealed before, because that asphalt will suck that sealer right in. So the first time is kind of the most expensive time. And then after that, if you just maintain it, it can be affordable, Again, every driveway is different. The
amount of work prepping it.
Absolutely.
Also, it's not just like throwing the stuff down.
Correct. And again, every driveway is priced out differently. It's the amount of prep work. If we go to a driveway and it's already been sealed, especially the first time, there really aren't any cracks. The homeowner keeps up with the edging of the driveway, because we always get to the edge of the driveway. So what we'll do is we'll cut back as much of the grass and vegetation as much as we can, because I want to make sure that the driveway is sealed completely. So those edges have all sealer on them, so they're protected. That can be a little bit more costly because it's a little bit more work, But the big thing is, if you start from day one and maintain that driveway, those costs will not be that bad. Yeah. And again, it varies from driveway to driveway.
Yeah, and it's definitely important. I highly recommend it. Did I miss anything?
Done a very good job. The biggest thing that I can really say is really with dealing with commercial properties, you have to maintain those properties, especially those large lots. If you don't maintain them, you're going to have costs down the road that are going to be... They're going to be expensive. So
redoing the whole thing is just so,
yeah, it's going to be very expensive. So the best bet is to maintain the driveways, maintain those commercial lots, make sure you're in ADA compliance. And then also for homeowners that want to sell their properties. We did a few driveways this year, and, the homeowner was getting ready to sell their house. And they called us up, and I said, absolutely. I said, that's one of the first things you see when you pull into a house is you see a driveway.
Yeah.
A lot of people buy looking at their driveways. I don't want to buy a house where my driveway is at a 90-degree angle, because the wintertime is going to be awful.
Yeah.
Or you have a long driveway that's all gravel or whatnot, So you want to have a nice appearance with the driveway.
Yeah, and then when I'm taking pictures of a house I'm listing, and I see the driveway, and I'm taking the picture, I'm like, I could just Photoshop and brush the thing. It's so easy, but you don't want to deceive people and think that. But it's definitely worth it. Especially the house looks awesome. The grass, the trees or whatever they have, and that's crappy.
Yeah,
that looks kind of
right. But also people perceive that as, okay, if the owner isn't taking care of the driveway, what else has the owner not taken care of in the house? Have they been keeping up with things that need to be replaced in the house? So that's one thing that you can tell. It's very important to keep the maintenance of a driveway up.
Awesome. So how do people find you?
So you can go to blackedoutsealcoating.com. You can go to Blacked Out Seal Coating on Instagram, Blacked Out Seal Coating on Facebook, and my phone number is 401-424-SEAL, S-E-A-L.
Awesome. Thank you very much for
stopping by today. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
My agent's got a squad, we all in the zone. In-house help, so they ain't doing it alone. They focus on clients, negotiating win, while the back end's handle, man, that's how we spin. I hand them business, watch them all climb.